In 1980, a band called Minor Threat was formed in Washington, D.C. by drummer Jeff Nelson and frontman Ian MacKaye from the ashes of their previous band, the Teen Idols, who had broken up just a month prior. About a year into their career, Minor Threat released their self-titled EP that contained a song called Straight Edge that covered themes such as abstinence from cocaine, marijuana, alcohol, and Quaaludes, which were a very popular drug at the time. I'm a person just like you, but I've got better things to do than sit around and fuck my head, hang out with the living dead. With the DIY ethos of punk firmly established in the 1970s by bands such as the Ramones and the Stooges, many members of the community all around the world, but especially in Washington, D.C., wanted something more from the movement, something that separated them from the social stigma that associated punk with degeneracy, addiction, and antisocial behavior. Using Minor Threat's early lyrics as gospel, the straight edge hardcore movement began. Often considered the founder of straight edge, Ian MacKaye is the movement's most important figure, and I'll be referencing him a lot in this video. In 1970, while attending a Led Zeppelin show with childhood friend Henry Rollins, Black Flag vocalist, comedian, author, and I think founder of a punk museum in Washington now. I think that's like his main thing now. They saw people slumped over, unconscious in their chairs, drooling over themselves, looted out, in the words of Rollins. And after that day, the pair swore they would never end up like those audience members. It seems many other punks in Washington, D.C. and all around the world agreed with this sentiment and wanted somewhere in the community where they could enjoy hardcore music without being pressured into substance abuse. Because of this, bands such as Earth Crisis, 7 Seconds, Chain of Strength, and Youth of Today started popping up around the country, preaching straight edge to an audience of mostly young white men. But what exactly is straight edge? Musically, straight edge, often stylized as SXE, is hardly different to regular hardcore punk music aside from lyrical content and the necessity for an anthemic chorus that can be used as a mantra for self-improvement. The main difference lies in the attitude of the participants, wishing only to enjoy the music without partaking in drugs, alcohol, or tobacco. This abstinence is the core principle of the straight edge movement, although the definition of straight edge changes depending on how serious each member of the movement takes it. This can include abstinence from casual sex or sex in general, from eating meat or using any animal products, using central heating in the winter, or from taking prescription medication, with Fugazi and Earth Crisis being 2 examples of bands made up entirely of vegans. Straight edge bands were also often against moshing and crowd killing, which are normally core parts of the hardcore community. Although the anti-moshing stance is normally associated with post-hardcore band At the Drive-In,
You're a robot! You're a sheep!
Fugazi and Earth Crisis are both on record refusing to play if their fans continue to mosh, with Ian MacKaye telling journalist Roger Catlin, "If they fight, we don't play."
Do you apologize? Do you apologize? Do you apologize? Okay, I'm not letting you leave.
This was generally so women felt more included in the punk scene and had a place to go to escape the machismo of most rock concerts. However, unsurprisingly, most fans considered this pretentious and annoying, with Ian MacKaye stating in a 2023 interview that there was a small subsection of the punk community that would describe themselves as bent edge to counteract a movement that they thought had no place in hardcore music.
The first resistance that we ran into was with people who identified as against straight edge. So they had a movement called bent edge movement, or the various anti-straight edge.
According to Beth Lahicki, author of All Ages, Reflections on Straight Edge, many hardcore fans thought that 7 Seconds had no place in the scene, being too soft, writing songs about brotherhood and love and friendship. Despite the initial backlash, straight edge remains a large part of the punk community today, often considered a much safer space for women and recovering addicts than the rest of the hardcore community. It's popular all over the world, with one of the strongholds being Brazil, where every 4 years members of the community gather in Sao Paulo for the Verdurada Festival, a vegan hardcore festival that prides itself on its DIY ethics and its refusal to sell alcohol, any animal products, or to take corporate sponsorships. As with any underground movement, the straight edge hardcore community isn't without its problems. despite most participants using its guidelines as a way of bettering themselves. Some are very extreme in their beliefs, leading other less dedicated members to question whether they are truly edge, as in like whether they're truly a member of the straight edge community, kind of like gatekeeping, but gatekeeping not doing drugs. In James Patrick Williams' 2006 essay, The Straight Edge Subculture on the Internet, he found one user asking on a forum post whether he could be considered truly edge if he had sex with his girlfriend who he really loved, according to him. And I think this is an example of Ian MacKay's words being taken as gospel, despite the fact that he never really intended for these to be, strict guidelines. He said in multiple interviews about straight edge that Minor Threat's early lyrics were simply a way of him expressing how he improves his own life, not how everyone should improve theirs. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't fuck, at least I can fucking think. Although the lyrics from Minor Threat's Out of Step discuss abstinence from sex, whether that means all sexual activity or just promiscuity is up to the listener to decide. Abstinence from drugs is also sometimes taken to the very extreme, with one user on the r/straightedge subreddit asking if he would still be considered edge if he took his prescription medication, which was Adderall. This sparked some debate among users of the subreddit, with one saying, Adderall will never be edge, and a doctor's note doesn't make amphetamines acceptable. Although some users refuted this, it seems that the straight edge community is sort of evenly divided as to whether they think prescription medication is okay. Other problems within the straight edge community include gender boundaries, with women often feeling left out of the scene due to the new emphasis on brotherhood and friendship between men. Despite the fact that punk, and particularly straight edge, are scenes that are by nature anti-disestablishment and preach inclusivity, women often feel excluded from them. Women are often excluded from them, as with most male-dominated fields. In the early days of punk, women even being present in the audiences and in the bands, in theory, prompted more equality within underground subcultures. However, in reality, straight edge is still a boys' club, with most female musicians playing the bass. A study conducted by Mary Ann Clausen in 1999 aimed to investigate why so many female rock musicians opt for playing bass, and cited Reskin and Roos's queuing theory, a theory that details how when a position in a male-dominated field becomes less desirable for men, women are able to come in and take over. Therefore, when a position that is often seen as easier and commands less respect within a band, such as the bassist, becomes less desirable to men, women are given a way into the scene. The general entry level required is often lower for playing bass than for playing guitar, so people are able to become okay at it more quickly. Clausen's study showed that while 87.5% of male punk musicians started playing music before they left high school, only 21% of female punk musicians did. Therefore, an instrument they could get fairly good at quite quickly is a good way of making your way into the scene. This led to women often feeling tokenized within punk, being considered, to quote Lorraine LeBlanc's Pretty in Punk, punk girls rather than just regular punks like the men. Ian MacKay of Fugazi and Minor Threat never planned for his lyrics to be used as a bible for a worldwide community of people. In reality, MacKay only believes that one should take the steps to improve their own life, no matter what those steps should be. They won't be the same as his or the next person's. They're specific to everybody. Most things are okay in moderation, but straight edge teaches its followers that it is possible to have fun, enjoy music, party, hang out with friends, and be happy without vices harmful to the self and to others. Don't stop taking your prescription medication though. That's bad. You probably shouldn't do that. And have sex with your girlfriend if you really love her, I guess.